I'm on the Old Head of Kinsale. The views are supposedly excellent to the east and to the west.
In this episode, I'll be starting the Wild Atlantic Way down in Kinsale. Future episodes will see me travel all the way up the west coast of Ireland following the Wild Atlantic Way, past Ireland's most northerly point, Marlin Head, on to the city of Derry.
So this morning I drive from Kinsale, the first leg of the Wild Atlantic Way, down to the Old Head of Kinsale. That's about all you can see of the signal tower. Very end of the head is restricted access as it's a private golf course. But I believe I can walk up another couple hundred metres up the side of the road just here. So I'm going to do that. It's a real shame actually. It looks quite spectacular. I'm sure I'm going to get loads of that along this route, but I'm always wary of standing on these little bits that have started to slip. A little bit lower than the stuff around them. They're literally the next bits to go. Didn't realise how high up I was. There's no wall here. Now that's probably the access to the golf course, which is restricted. So back to the van, very brief trip to the Old Head of Kinsale. There is my first Wild Atlantic Way sign. Looks upside down.
It is indeed upside down. It should look like W-A-W, not M-M.
There we go, my first Wild Atlantic Way sign.
This is the first of about 150 of these signs that I hope to see during my journey along the Wild Atlantic Way. Pictured here, the RMS Lusitania was sunk by a German U-boat 11 miles off the Head of Kinsale, 7th of May 1915. 1,197 people perished that day.
Okay, let's go back to the van and find the next stop, which I believe is a little beach a few kilometres down the road. Wouldn't want to be parked up overnight down here on a high tide. Many themes would emerge as I made this trip up the west coast, and one of them was, if it rained, you've got the place to yourself. Garylucas Beach, Garrettstown, just over to my right, and another beach just the other side of the town. The Blue Flag Beach, according to the signage. There is a campervan parked up at the top there, and behind the signage here is a toilet block which is open. It's grim, but it's usable. It's exactly what you'd expect in such a remote place, and to be honest, it's it's better than nothing. I haven't had my early morning coffee yet, so it's time for that. Let's have the coffee and have a look at the map and see where's next. I just love these parking places. There's hardly anybody here, one other vehicle, a camper van, and you're right on the beach. The sound of the waves is fantastic. Kettle's boiling. Really is nice. The weather must be about 11 or 12 degrees. Very mild. Virtually no wind. Perfect. From the Old Head to Timoleague was interesting. Part of the route involved the road right on the edge of the bay. One of the first points of interest on the Wild Atlantic Way when travelling from the south to the north is Timoleague Friary, Timoleague Abbey. It's Timoleague Friary.
Timoleague Friary was originally built in the 13th century, extended again in the 14th and again in the 15th centuries. There are even parts that are 17th century. Another theme coming to me from Ireland are ruins, myths and the English. And this place is an example of that theme, run for hundreds of years as a friary. When the English come along and confiscate it, and then years later, when the monks are back in control, it's plundered again by the English and destroyed. Legend has it that a prominent figure took away stone and timber from the dormitories here to use in his own projects. The ship taking them away sheltered in a harbour during a big storm, but was still sunk.
Passageways in the walls here are unexplained, but I do find them interesting. There was one somewhere where I could walk in an upper level, but then it was gated off at the top end. This room would have been called the Quiet. Not sure why, but that's what it would have been called. Of course, there would have been no road, and boats bringing supplies would have been able to come right up to the Friary. I find these small entrances in the back quite interesting. The impressive choir appears to be full of tombs, perhaps of important people over the years.
I did venture up, but round the corner it was gated off.
It'd be nice to know what half these things are, what they were used for, etc. There is a website, but it doesn't explain it all.
So certainly an interesting place. It's on the Wild Atlantic Way, and if you're passing, you might as well come and have a look. There's enough left of it to make it interesting, and there's building works going on at the moment, repair works. I'm not suggesting it's the sort of place that you'd go out your way to come to, but if you're interested in history, certainly worth a visit.
The theme of the English destroying things in Ireland continued. At least this place has something left to look at. The toilet block's always handy, and so was the water tap outside. There's a view of Courtmacsherry Bay out there, and on the edge of the far bank is the road I mentioned that hugs the water.
haven't seen enough of these on my trip so far in Ireland. What a great view. I mean, Inchidoney Island. And the next couple of miles I'll have to double back on myself and I'll actually be driving around that headland opposite. I'm going to grab some lunch here in the van, make myself, and then have a little look round.
And there is another Wild Atlantic Way marker, Inchidoney. I'm only in the tamer southern part of the Wild Atlantic Way at the moment, and it's not particularly a windy day, but that Atlantic already is wild. Technically, I suppose it's the Celtic Sea. I've noticed that car parks are not strict. Overnight camping signs were non-existent. I'm sure they're going to exist in some places, but in Waterford they were in every other car park. Don't need to warn me.
I didn't realise until I left this park up that I was actually in a hotel's private car park, which strictly said no camper vans. Oh well. It's incredibly useful to be able to fill up your water bottles in places like this. And because of the swimming and the surfing and whatever, there are showers available here. This is the area I should have parked, which is for the public and not part of the hotel's car park.
I know it's out of season, but again I'm able to park right on the side of the shore. There's no signs of parking meters or payments of any kind.
Over in the mist, past that near headland, is a further headland called Galley Head, and it's one of the points on the Wild Atlantic Way. Again, it's private up there, and I'm not going to try and drive all the way in. But I'm here on Strand Beach, I think it's called. There's a couple having their wedding photos and a crazy dog. These beaches are amazing. Easy to find parking again right alongside the beach. Look at the tide pushes the sand right up against that seawall, and obviously there was sand in the road as well. Vans. Looks like it's half sunk in the sand.
Unfortunately, this is the only view of Galley Head I got. That on a poster. This beach was just a couple of minutes drive down the road. It had signs for no swimming as the current is extremely strong here. The sound of the crashing waves was so intense. Next stop, Drombeg Stone Circle.
I'm on my way to Drombeg Stone Circle. and I knew the car park there has a height barrier, and I don't believe there's a lot of space outside. So I saw this little lay-by here, and I know I'm only 100 metres or 200 metres away. So let's walk up. There was a height barrier, but it looked high enough for me to get under. Not to worry though, there was a car and people just leaving. The last car in the little car park as I walked in. So I'm walking up the path now from the car park. And there we go, stone circle ahead.
Looking between the two portal stones, across the axle stone, the sun would set on the 21st of December exactly behind it. Stone circles were places of ritual and ceremony, usually to do with human burial. This site was excavated in 1957, and carbon dating dates it back to between 800 and 1100 BC, making it approximately 3,000 years old. Stones would be heated in a fire, then rolled into this trough of water. It would heat 70 gallons of water in about 18 minutes, as tests in 1957 showed, and that water would then stay hot for cooking meat for up to 3 hours.
Amazing, I love the history like this. This is where you return to the van to find it's not there. It's a few hundred metres back down that country lane. Now I think I'm on track. Had a good day, explored lots of places. I did plot a little place on the map where I was going to camp tonight. The only thing was, I couldn't check it properly on Google Maps, because it was in a forestry land, and therefore the Google car didn't go onto the private land. So I don't know if there's any height barriers to the car park or not. Okay, so the van's still here. Now I've got to get myself back onto the Wild Atlantic Way.
This area is known as the Narrows. It's a 4-kilometre inlet from the sea, yet only 50 metres wide. Along the side is what's called a famine wall that would have kept the deer in.
The woodland car park is not a suitable place for an overnight camp, and the little car park I'm in on the outside of the gated area is also not ideal. There's not much room there. And there's some lovely walks around here, and it appears that dog walkers and just walkers in general will be turning up for the next few hours before it gets dark. So it's not the ideal place. The best place is on a seafront somewhere, in plain sight of everybody. No one takes any notice. And this is a little car park on the entrance. Ideal little place. It'll just be busy all night.
At this point I thought I'd gone wrong. I'd just driven round a tree growing in the middle of the road that's about 30 foot high. There's enough room downhill on my side and uphill past this tree. My sat-nav was telling me to do a U-turn. And the next thing, I appeared here. I believe this place was called Castletownshend, or similar pronunciation. What a lovely little place. I really am racking up these way markers at the moment. I need to slow down. I need a little bit slower travel. Just round this headland was Drombeg Beach. This would prove to be a perfect place for an overnight stay. There was a toilet block, probably the grimmest I've encountered so far, and there was another camper van just along from where I was parked. There was a recycling centre to put away my rubbish as well. So this proved to be the end of my first day on the Wild Atlantic Way. Bit of a mixed day weather-wise, and a variety of things to see and do. The beauty of slow travel is that you go to places that you just don't expect. You have no idea what's round the next corner, and I hope the next few months prove to be the same.